Creating flipped videos is no small undertaking. It takes time and planning and effort and a system to really keep up with it. And all of those are things that I teach and help teachers with in my online courses and on our website that I actually have linked below in the description. But you don't have to make your own videos to flip your classroom. And in this video, we're gonna talk about how. So let's get straight to it. Well, hey there, teacher friend. Welcome to my channel. I am Mandy Rice of TeachOnAMission.com and the Sustainable Teacher Podcast. And I'm so glad to have you here with me today, where I am delivering weekly teacher content, all with the goal of inspiring you and hopefully reinvigorating your love of teaching after what has been a really hard few years. But I'm hoping that I do that in ways that allow you to be effective, right? To be that great teacher in the classroom that's effective with your students, but doesn't sacrifice all of your personal life to do so. Because here at Teach on a Mission and the Sustainable Teacher, we believe that you can have both. That is BOTH. Right? Both effective in the classroom and have a personal life. So if you are here for that, please click below to subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a single video coming out soon. And then come on over, join me on the Teachergram, that is Instagram, right? Where my handle is at Teach on a Mission, and I'm gonna be in on stories and just kind of taking you behind the scenes in the everyday life of all things the sustainable teacher. That's really what it is, right? And I'd love to connect with you and get to know you more there. So hop on over. All right, so we're talking about how to use other teachers' videos. Let's get straight into it. So I'm actually gonna start with a little bit of a story, shall we? Okay, so recently in our home, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably already know this, but we had the stomach bug ravage its way through our home, and jinx, knock on wood, I survived. It never hit me. Hashtag benefits of creating human beings. I don't know. So anywho, each of my kids were absent 1 to 3 days from school, and my third grader in particular, because in third grade, things really pick up. It starts to really look like an academic setting in schools. And I needed to help him, or he was needing some help with his homework on distributive properties with multiplication tables. That's a very specific understanding in which I don't know how to teach because I've never taught third grade. Plus, it's also been quite a long time since I've been in third grade. And even then, I probably don't remember a single moment about learning any of those things. But anywho, what I found myself doing was plopping on the YouTube and finding a video from a teacher who was explaining it. I heard her explanation. It made absolute sense to me. My 9-year-old was watching too, and he said, yeah, that makes total sense. But even still, so, we got more understanding, but even still, it didn't translate to the exact homework in what was his math, like journal, notebook, workbook, whatever, right? That could only come from the teacher. And we reached out and we figured it out and it was fine. But I'm saying all of this to say that you don't have to make all of your own videos to flip your classroom. You absolutely don't. Here's another story for you of an example of other people or teachers using other teachers' videos. So I've been flipping my classroom since 2011, something like that, right? And I put my videos, my flipped videos, my content, my lectures, whatever the heck you want to call them, onto the YouTube. And it was public access. Anybody and everybody could watch them. And an unanticipated perk of doing that was that students and teachers around the world could use those videos to help in explaining things. Here's the real great thing about that, and you will absolutely know this if you're a teacher watching this video right now. Sometimes, in the nature of the beast, that is education, we have to change what we teach, right? If I'm certified 7 to 12 integrated social studies, which that's what I taught, right? I could be told weeks before the school year starts that I'm teaching something that I didn't even major in, right? I was a history major and I taught psychology. The last time I took psychology was when I took the course in high school that I was then teaching, right? That's insane. Well, guess what? Now there's so many teachers putting their content delivery, their instruction on YouTube and other platforms that you can benefit from it too. So back to my story, I have multiple teachers, many of whom I don't even know, that are using my videos in their classroom, and I love it. I absolutely love it. Some of those teachers reach out to me, a lot of the students reach out to me. But again, getting back to the story, man, I am such a squirrel today. I've actually zoomed in to a lot of classrooms who use my videos as their primary source of content. And I get to like say hello to the students and they're like, oh my gosh, we've been watching your videos all year. Now, I don't know who any of they are from Adam, right? But how cool is that? That something that exists outside of me is being used to help another teacher and to help more students. You can do that too. So let's talk about how. So in this conversation, let's first talk about why you would need to use someone else's videos or why you wouldn't make your own. I should preface this by saying that I do recommend that if you're going to go all in on the flipped classroom, that you get to a point where you are making your own videos, and I'm here to help you for that, right? Resources on their website, go to it, find them, I can help. But if you're not in a place where you can do that, here are some of the reasons why that might be the case. You ran out of time, right? So I remember when I first flipped my classroom, I got the first 2 units completely flipped over the summer, meaning I got all of my videos made over the summer. And then the end of unit 2 is coming, I was like, oh crap, I've got to make unit 3. Now this was pre-children when I did this and able to spend hours upon hours at work, not in a very healthy way. But anywho, I was able to keep up with it and just make the videos even like the morning of. I don't recommend that, but it's real life, right? Like you may have just ran out of time to make the video that you needed for this flipped lesson. Well, guess what? Go find a video or a compilation of videos that cover or talk about the same things you were going to talk about. You might have ran out of time. Another reason might be that you want to explore this idea of flipping, but you want to test it out first to see if it's really going to work before you really invest that time into it. I hope that these videos and my channel and maybe even my podcast help you to see that it's absolutely worth your time. But I get it. You want to test the waters first. Using someone else's videos is absolutely a good way to do that. Another reason would be that you need some kind of supplemental video, much like how I did this with my 3rd grade son, right? And that I needed, or you could say like the teacher, his teacher could have assigned a video or put it on Class Dojo or Google Classroom to say, parents, here's a video that you could watch and you're with or without your child to better understand what we're talking about, right? It can be a supplemental video for students or even for your families. And here's the other reason. And now this is not a like full thorough list, but these are just a few reasons. But one of them might just be that someone else explains something better than you. And you know what? You don't always have to reinvent the wheel. This was something that I absolutely loved on the American history team that I taught on, and that somebody was all about the industrial revolutions and workers' unions and all that kind of stuff. And they went to town and were amazing and so enthusiastic in delivering the content on that subject. Others were really great around like the Civil War or the founding documents, although that's pretty daggone boring. But you get what I'm saying. Like some teachers have a passion for it and just wider grasp of the content than you do, and they have their videos on YouTube. Why not use them and get to benefit from their passion and expertise rather than reinventing the wheel? So all of these are reasons why you might want to use someone else's or at least not make your own videos, right? And all of these are valid, and you don't have to feel bad about that at all. No qualms, no worries. Do you, boo? So now what I would like to do is talk about a few areas where I actually recommend that you use someone else's videos, okay? And some of these I've already kind of hinted toward, but I want you to know that these are actually areas where I would recommend that if you all don't already have your own video, find someone else's and use it in each of these scenarios. Scenario 1 relates back to that story time with my 3rd grader that I've now referenced what seems like 14 times, right? As a supplemental resource for students and parents when they are at home, whether they're absent, have been sick and been absent, or just need to dive deeper into a topic, just some kind of extra support for them on a specific skill. Scenario 2 is teaching parents how you teach or how a specific topic or standard is taught if you can find another teacher who does it that same way. And with, things like Common Core, that's a thing, right? Like the way other teachers do it are the way you do it as well. And so your parents and students can benefit from having watched that in action, particularly your parents at home when they're needing to help their children. The third scenario is probably my favorite, and this one is inside of your classroom in something like a station rotation. Now, let me give you an example here. So in what is AP Psychology, the main course that I taught and flipped when I was in the classroom, I was a history major teaching psychology, and inside of psychology, there was an entire unit on research and one particular very huge and important topic on statistics. So there I was, a social studies teacher teaching stats. What a great idea. Okay, so I needed some help with that. And when I first started teaching it, teachers just weren't on YouTube. Like I just had to figure it out. So in this particular instance, I actually made my own video. But how it applies here is that now there's videos galore and you can absolutely find one. Well, here's the thing. My students struggled year after year with the null hypothesis, and there were other ones, not just the null hypothesis, statistical significance, and the normal curve, standard deviation, and kind of using their knowledge of that to answer a test question specifically. So each of those three areas were three of, I believe, 4 or 5 stations in what were my statistics stations, which you can actually find on my Teachers Pay Teachers store and purchase that right now. But that's neither here nor there. The idea was that I was able to use a video in 3 different stations of 5 on what was our statistics day. I believe it was like 2 days. And so my students moved to 5 different stations throughout that 2-day lesson, right? And 3 of them were using a video. In this specific example, I made them, but nowadays I would absolutely find a stats teacher. I would find a statistics person who was able to teach about the null hypothesis in a way that allowed my students to conceptually understand it. Now, here's the other caveat though. So this is kind of going off script here a little bit, but this is another reason why, though. Sure, you can use other teachers' videos. I actually recommend you make your own. At least using the example that I'm talking about, although a statistics teacher could absolutely explain null hypothesis to my students, oftentimes they would dive too deep. And my students didn't need that. It wasn't worth my students' time to do that. So I made a video that just allowed them or helped them to conceptually understand it for our purposes. So, little sidebar there. Totally ignore me if you want to, but take it or leave it. It's up to you. But back to that example being that you could absolutely use other teachers' videos, 1, 2, 3, however many you want, inside of your station rotations in your classroom where your students are moving through content to dive deeper, to work on their practice and their application of the standards in which you're focusing. Scenario number 4, vocabulary practice. You find a clip of another teacher's video where they're explaining a specific term and they can do it better than you, and that's a way better use of your time than explaining it 7 times throughout the day and you just show it in class. Brilliant, right? You could also assign that for, hey, here's a video to help you study some of your vocabulary and we have a test tomorrow. The other thing is, what if you have an assessment on your vocabulary in some fashion, and let's say it's on something like a Google form or what is a Google quiz, right? Did you know that you're able to, depending on what your student's answer is, then send them a quick video that explains the question that they just got wrong? And maybe that video is another teacher's explaining that vocabulary term. Just an example, right? And scenario number 5, another one of my favorites, which is to differentiate instruction. There's that big bad D word. Differentiation is it can be a beast. It doesn't have to be, but it can be, right? Well, one of the ways that we make it not a beast is by piggybacking off of our colleagues that put their videos and content out for the world to use. So let's say that you have a student after some form of formative assessment who didn't do well or needs to be remediated on X, Y, and Z. Well, you've got a video that you could have them watch in class or for homework or send home to their parents saying, he should or she should really watch this and make sure that they understand, because their retake is gonna be on Friday and I want them to have a good shot at it, right? Make sure you conference with them after they've watched and that they really understand it. But differentiating instruction, that's another great way to use other teachers' videos. Now, here's the thing about this. This could go awry. I've got a video coming up soon I'm gonna be releasing to the world shortly, is how your flip can flop, right? Well, this is kind of like a how your flip can flop, but in a specific way, what you need to do to avoid obstacles when using other teachers' videos, okay? So you really wanna take note here and make sure you're having some due diligence and that it's going to be effective and worth your time investment in even finding these videos. So here we go. You've got to watch them first. I know that's like, thank you, Captain Obvious, but here's what I mean. It is really easy, especially in the hustle and bustle of teaching and the bajillions of things that we have to do around the clock, to find a topic, read the title and description and say, oh yeah, that's gonna be great. Watch maybe the first 30 seconds and think, yep, that's fantastic. You really have to watch the whole thing. Here's why. YouTube's great. You just never know when they might throw in an H-bomb or, I mean, like the lesser triggering and extreme curse words, right? You just never know, and those oftentimes are not caught by the filters, no matter how great they are. So for precautionary reasons, you really should watch the whole thing, but also there may be something in there that you're like, oh, no. The way he's explaining that is totally gonna trip them up. You could still show it, you just have to be prepared after they've watched it to say, okay guys, remember here where he was explaining it this way? Here's why I don't like that. That's not necessarily a bad thing. In fact, having learned it that way may solidify that in your students' brains even more so than just doing it one way. I don't know, but you wanna know all of those things ahead of time. So watch the video first. So this one isn't really a what not to do like the first one, it's a what to do. Find teachers or a teacher or, one or two, however many you possibly can that you like, and you like the way they deliver content. Maybe it's similar to yours, or maybe it's different and that's a great supplement too. And subscribe to them on YouTube. Just watch their videos when you're at home and your spouse is watching a show that it can be on in the background, but I'm gonna do something else, and just watch their videos ahead of time, and you'll be alerted when the new content comes out if they are producing that new content, right? Just a time saver for you. But it's really awesome to subscribe to them, maybe even find them in like some of the Facebook groups that exist that are content or even grade level specific. All right, so point number 3 in how to best use other teachers' videos is this. Tell your students about this person. Tell your parents about this other person, this other teacher, right? You could even tell a little white lie and say that you know them and maybe you're like, email pals or something. I mean, I don't want to tell you to lie, but you just want to give the impression to your students and parents, not give the impression, give them the truth that you have vetted these resources. They are really great at what they do. They explain things in ways that are really great, and therefore you're gonna use their videos. But the other thing too is that you want to give them confidence in you as the primary educator in the room as well. So you're gonna have some parents who are like, so you just have another teacher teach your course, and then what the heck are you doing? You might get that, and that's all right. I would just advise that you be proactive about it, right? Just be proactive about it, letting them know that this is a great use of your time because someone's already done it and they're so similar to how you deliver content that now you get to use your time more effectively to respond to and conference with and remediate and reteach and all the things, right, that your students need and that can only come from you, right? Reminder, you are the most influential and powerful educational tool in your classroom, right? So that is why lecturing and doing the same thing over and over again, it's not a great use of you. Putting that into an accessible video is so that you can conference with and talk to and build relationships with students. You're still going to do that part. Just make sure you communicate that to students and parents. All right, last tip here is to reference the specific video for your lesson inside of class. When you are delivering instruction or remediating or conferencing or one-on-one conversations, whatever that looks like inside of your classroom, reference the video. So you could say, hey, remember when Mr. Blank said XYZ in this part and he explained it this way? Well, here's what he really meant. Or here's something I want to add to that. Or let's go over that again, right? This means A, you've watched it. B, it's really valuable the way that they explain it, and now you're able to build off of it or just use it in some capacity to clarify your students' knowledge. That solidifies and really validates that video. It's not even about the video then. It's about the knowledge that's in your student's brain, right? That's really, really huge. All right, there you have it, teacher friend. I hope that this has been helpful. Just to give a quick recap of the flipped classroom, like how to use other teachers' videos. Do you have to make your own videos? No, it's a huge undertaking. If you want to, I'm here for it and have all kinds of resources for you. But just make sure that you kind of look back and see that you want to take some precautionary steps to make sure that that's a good use of yours and, more importantly, your students' time when they are in your classroom and having this educational experience that you are building out for them. But yes, it absolutely can be done. I've seen it done. Teachers have used my videos in this way, and it's been a really awesome thing, a really, really awesome thing to essentially have two teachers in the same room. So do a little homework, have some due diligence there to find those teachers whose content you really like, and it can be a really beautiful, beautiful relationship. All right, make sure you've subscribed. Come find me on Instagram so we can hang out a little bit, and I will see you for our next video. Bye for now.